Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Iris Siriani. I'm a self-love coach and a spiritual mentor. And in this video, I want to share a conversation that I had with my guides during a meditation. And I had a question that I wanted to ask. And the question was, what is the relevance of self-love as it relates to our spiritual awakening and our spiritual journey? And this is what I want to share with you, is what the answer that I received. When I tune in to guides and spirits and receive downloads, I receive a lot of images. So what I'm going to share with you in this video is going to be imagery, but I did ask for clarification on that imagery. So one of the first things I saw was green and purple. And green is the energy of the heart chakra, and purple is the energy of the crown chakra, which I found was really relevant. And then the next image I saw was a lightning bolt, kind of like a Zeus lightning bolt. And it came down forcefully and grounded itself into the earth. And I asked, well, what was the relevance of that lightning bolt? And I heard, by connecting to your heart and connecting to your higher self or the spiritual realm, what that does is you bring that energy down through your crown chakra, in through your heart chakra, and it grounds you like a lightning bolt to the earth. And then the next thing I saw was a person in a bubble, and the bubble was floating. And I just found that to be interesting. And then I saw this bubble being tossed back and forth between two invisible, I'm going to call them people. I don't know what it was, but this bubble was just being tossed back and forth. And I heard the word wobble. And Esther Hicks, she channels Abraham. She is always talking about the wobble. And for purposes of the conversation that I was having, what I heard was that the wobble is when we are not grounded to the earth, that we wobble in life, and life tosses us around in these isolated bubbles. And then what I saw next was all of these other bubbles started to float into the imagery. And as these bubbles that also had people in them, they became very squished and very tight and very pressed together. And there was not a lot of movement. Everything was just so closed and tight. And then I was shown the cracking of an egg into a frying pan. And I said, well, that's really interesting. What does that mean? And they showed me this person that was in the original bubble. Their bubble cracked open and they landed on the ground. So she landed on the ground. And if you've ever watched Alice in Wonderland and how she goes down the rabbit hole and she lands at the bottom of the rabbit hole with a thud, and she looks a little bit dazed and confused, and then she stands up. So when we begin our spiritual awakening, there's a lot of shifts and changes that go on internally, also reflected externally, but it can kind of jolt you into this thud type of feeling of where you stand up and you look around and you start to question everything. And so then I see this girl walking into a forest, and she's wandering around this forest, and it's a pretty dense forest, and she's walking around the forest, and she's walking around a little bit lost. And eventually she gets really tired and she sits down. And what she's looking for in the forest is a way out. And then I heard the only way out is to sit down. But so she sat down beside a tree. And then I heard that many people fall out of their bubbles and many people stay in their bubbles, and they stay in their bubbles in that confined, restrictive space. But many people have fallen out of their bubbles and have made their way to this metaphorical forest, and they wander around the forest. And then I heard that some people sit down straight away. Some people wander around in the forest looking for a way out and become tired, and eventually they sit down. And other people wander around in the forest for a very long time. But in all cases, anybody making their way into the forest will eventually sit down, because the only way out is to sit down. And so my interpretation of everything that I saw and everything that I heard is that when we connect to our heart, when we learn to love ourselves, what is happening is it causes us to spiritually ascend, causing us to connect to the higher realms, which helps us ground our energy into the earth. And when we make our way to the forest, because when we spiritually ascend, we are in essence entering into a different dynamic, a different energy, a different way of maneuvering our life and navigating our life with much more awareness. That's why we need to sit down, because sitting down and learning to be present and do our own inner healing, that essentially is the way out. So that's what I took away from the conversation with my guides, with all of the imagery and all of the questions that I've asked. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know if you intuitively felt anything different in terms of the interpretation and the imagery. I'd love to hear what you thought of that. And until the next video, take good care.